Well, hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am a regular dude walking in the Word. As we go through Colossians, these next two episodes, I'm going to be talking about today traditions without Jesus, and then tomorrow rules without Jesus. Having traditions and rules, it's okay, but don't be putting that stuff above Jesus and having those things, doing them just because, it's tradition or it's a rule just because we have rules, and it doesn't have anything to do with Jesus. And Jesus is not involved with that, and you're just doing it for a religious rule. When you start doing that, you're in trouble. So today, let's read here today. This is taken from Colossians chapter 2, and these next two episodes, we're going to finish up chapter 2. Colossians chapter 2, verses 16 to 19, okay? This is Colossians 2, 16 to 19. It says this, "Therefore do not let anyone judge you by what you eat or drink with regard to the religious festival, a new moon celebration, or a Sabbath day. These are a shadow of the things that are to come. The reality, however, is found in Christ. Do not let anyone who delights in false humility and the worship of angels disqualify you. Such a person also goes into great detail about what they have seen. They are puffed up about the adult notions by their unspiritual mind. They have lost the connection with their head, from whom the whole body, supported and held together by its ligaments and sinews, grows as God causes it to grow." Okay, so it starts out by saying, don't let anyone judge you by what you eat or drink, with regard to the religious festivals and the new moon celebrations and the Sabbath day. These things that Paul is bringing out, he's pointing out here, these are all Jewish things that the Jewish people held in. They were traditions that were held in high regard. So on the Sabbath, you didn't do anything, and then these religious festivals, you didn't do anything. So what was happening here in this New Testament church in Colossae was you had Gentiles that were saved, and they were saved and they were worshiping the Lord and stuff. But then you had the Jewish people come in, and they were like, hey, yeah, that's fine that you're saved, but, and there was always be careful when someone says, hey, that's all good, but when you hear that word, you're like, something's a little strange here. But you need to, according to the Jewish people there, you need to also obey the Sabbath things, Sabbath rules, and the religious festivals, and all this stuff. Okay, and Paul is saying here, no, that is a shadow. That stuff was all important in the Old Testament, and that was pointing to Jesus. It's not Jesus. But it was pointing to Jesus. All this stuff was pointing to Jesus. So, but these people, the Jewish people coming into that church would be like, hey, yeah, you got to, obey the Sabbath and do these things and so forth. And that's where it's wrong. So today, you need to watch out for that same stuff. When people come and they go, oh, that's nice that you got saved and you're a Christian, but you need to watch out for that. And then they add things into it. Like, a big thing here is when someone gets all high and mighty about the Sabbath. And he talks about it in verse 18. Don't let anyone who delights in this false humility. It drives you bonkers when people do that. They come up and they're acting all filled with humility. And then they give you this thing about the rules and stuff you should be following. I'm a righteous person, and you could be also a righteous person if you do these things too. You're like, huh? Where does it say that in the Bible? Okay, but so these, let me go back to the Sabbath. So you will have people today that will be all acting all humble and say, but you know what? You're not following the Sabbath. You shouldn't run on the Sabbath. You shouldn't even ride your bicycle on the Sabbath. These are the things, the rules and things you need to do on the Sabbath. And you're like looking in your Bible and you're like, hey, I must have missed that section when it talks about that. here in the New Testament about you're not supposed to run, you're not supposed to bike, you're not supposed to, eat in a restaurant, all that stuff that we have all these rules about. And where does Jesus talk about that? Okay, so the bottom line here is I'm not going to go on any further and we'll talk about some more stuff tomorrow. But I'll end with it says they've lost the connection with the head. The head of the church is Christ. Okay, they're just focused on the church and not focused on Jesus as holding everything together. We're supposed to be holding everything together, but they're adding all these other rules into it that you have to obey. All right. The bottom line is look at those rules. Okay. If it might be pointing to Jesus. Okay. But if it's not about Jesus, then don't be all thinking you have to obey those religious rules. All right? Examine everything. It's got to be exalting Jesus. Thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey looking at Colossians. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.